Rogers got $1 million to do research on diffusion of innovations in India, Nigeria and Brazil. And he had met Niels Reuling here during the contact. Niels may have told you that. And I said to Niels, you are now working in Nigeria. There is an interesting research project starting in Nigeria. Would it not be useful to apply for that job? I wrote to Everett. There is a capable fellow who is already in Nigeria, and you have met him and liked him here. Maybe you can work together. And that is what happened. Seeing the possibility to bridge the gap between theory and practice by using the theory to improve practice is one of his main strengths, I think. Another idea was that if you tell people it's wise to change your behavior, not all people will do that. If you create a situation where they discover themselves that it's useful to change behavior, they are more inclined to do so. And that kind of principle is true in agriculture and health and many other fields. So he was looking at the principles behind behavior that could be applied in different situations for different groups of people. But the impression is that he stimulates people to think, that if somebody comes with an idea, he tries to indicate what is the value of that idea in the scientific theory, and how could you modify that idea a bit to make it more worthwhile. I think my impression is that that is his main strength. And that was one of the reasons that out of 8 students, 7 are choosing him as a supervisor. Another point is that he was working very hard. When we were there in India, he came to visit that project, and he had been traveling for more than 50 hours. And we said, well, there is a room where you can sleep somewhat, and then we will have dinner afterwards. But he didn't sleep. He found there a nice desk and started to revise a book.
And Everett came around and he had this big project called Diffusion of Innovations in Developing Countries. Nigeria, India and Brazil. And so he needed 3 teams. And at the time, I was the only rural sociologist in Nigeria. So that was really lucky. We had in Holland this course, international course in rural extension, which was also a sign that Holland was considered as really a hotbed of extension development. And Anne linked that development to Ev's work. So he was the first, as I said, 1963, which is only 2 years after Ev's book, to really do a lot of innovative research on the diffusion of innovations among farmers here in Holland. Really, it was not so easy for Ev actually, because some of us were really very critical, and which was his own fault, because that's how he picked his students. But on the other hand, so I think he was really, in that sense, a very good mentor, creating a group of people, critical people, who many of them have continued with his ideas, and we have a department of communication and innovation studies. I'm sure which used to be the department of extension studies, and I'm sure we would never have had innovation studies if it weren't for Ev. So that was really also a very big example for us, so that you can always write another book. I really thought that was great. He did, and he did it. He wrote, and he was very good at writing. Very, very good writer. Very clear and excellent stuff. So we learned a lot, no doubt. Yeah.
The first time I met Ev Rogers was in 1991, so that's exactly 20 years ago. I met him in Finland at a North Karelia heart health tour, and I remember that I was mistakenly thinking that he was our bus driver, because we would make a bus trip in the field. And I remember how graciously he said, well, Mrs. Baumann, I will be traveling with you, but I will not be your bus driver. Since our meeting in Finland, the first time in 1991, I asked Everett if he was willing to be my supervisor, because I was at the beginning of my PhD research on entertainment education. And as we all know, Everett is one of the first scholars who researched the effect of entertainment education. So his diffusion of innovation theories were also applied not only in agriculture, in health education, but he also used this for entertainment education. So it was very exciting for me that he agreed to be my supervisor. His way of helping me was especially by connecting me with all kinds of people who had experience with entertainment education, who were researchers, or we met, for example, at conferences, and then he introduced me to several scholars, which for me was, of course, a quite wonderful opportunity to talk with people about several things that interested me. And in this way, Everett was a kind of, what I would say, an inclusive person. He included everybody in his contacts, in his skills, in his knowledge. So he was very generous in connecting people. Everett has inspired me during my journey in the entertainment education field since we met in Finland. And also when I did my PhD research at the Wageningen Agricultural University in the Netherlands, he visited the Netherlands several times, and he had very strong connections with the Netherlands, with Professor Anne van der Ban, with Niels Reuling, and later also with me. So Wageningen has been a central, let's say, meeting point for when he came in the Netherlands. And entertainment education has been a strong, let's say, movement in the Netherlands since he inspired me on my journey, which in the end resulted in the foundation of the Center for Media and Health, which continues to elaborate on entertainment education research and new projects. So Everett has guided me on the entertainment education journey for many, many years, and I'm very grateful for that.